With summer finally here, I figured it would be a great time to refresh my built-ins and mantle for a nice, clean look for the season. In today's video, I invite you to hang out and decorate with me, and I'll also be sharing my top tips on how to make built-in or bookcase styling as easy as 1, 2, 3. Let's jump right into it. The first thing I always like to do is clear off all of the decor so that I can start with a clean slate and revisit what I want to keep. I'm moving away from the farmhouse look, so several of these items I'm moving away, but several of them I love and want to keep. However, I wanted to update them just a little bit, like this cute little bird aviary. The size was perfect, but it was a little too rustic. And I like those three little birds too, but they were a little too dark. So there's nothing like a great can of spray paint to update a piece of decor that works in one area maybe, but not in another. And so I went ahead and freshened this up. And I really wanted to keep the three little birds as well. So I decided to keep them and freshen them up with a coat of white spray paint also, and then little accents of champagne gold paint, and you'll understand better shortly why I decided to use these colors. So a couple of tips that may be helpful for you if you struggle with styling shelves and they're really simple to use are kind of the rules that I use to put everything into place. So as far as your objects are concerned, I always suggest starting with your largest objects first, followed by your medium-sized objects, and then your smallest objects. And I try to stay away from trinket type objects, but in your house, just do what makes you happy. But for me, it starts to look a little cluttered because the space is so big. So large, medium, small. And then tip number 2 is regarding color, and it's actually kind of the same rule of thumb. I try to stick to 3, maybe 4 colors. So one major color, one medium-sized color, and then a pop of color. In this instance, I'm gonna try something different using pretty much all whites, and then my medium-sized color is gonna be metallic or golds. And then I'll do a pop of color with green, which brings me to my third tip, which is to try to incorporate something organic or the elements or something from nature. So greenery, rocks, the list kind of goes on, but it's really a nice way to kind of balance things out. So I'm going to show you what I do. And number 4, play around with it. I never really get it right on the first try, so I'll show you what I do. And then if you have any more specific questions, ask them in the comments below. If I see a trend, I will post the question of the week on next week's video. I mentioned earlier starting with your larger objects first. So the aviary is probably the biggest thing that's going in there, and I typically like to style my built-ins with one big piece on the first shelf and then several vignettes on the second shelf, and then maybe a couple vignettes on the third shelf. So now you know why I was painting everything white, because the biggest color that I'm going to use is white. My mantle is white. So I figured white accents on the built-ins would be really pretty and light this summer. And I left the 3 little birds in there, but I didn't really like the way that they looked, so you'll see later in the video that I changed that out. Another large item that I decided to keep is the little storage case that you see here. That actually is functional for me because I put all of my kids' Mother's Day gifts in there and things that I want to be able to access quickly. So I kept that too. Now, if I were staging for this home to sell or to go on the market, I probably wouldn't keep it. But when I'm staging for living, I like to keep functional pieces in the built-ins. And now you see me adding in my medium and small size pieces and creating little vignettes. I like the 3 little birds way better down on the bottom shelf. We can see them better and it gives it a little more character. And then on the right side of the built-in, I really love that ginger jar. It was originally gray. but I decided to spray paint it white. I only spray paint things that I'm not married to as far as the color is concerned. So that wasn't a problem for me. And as you can see, it fit in very nicely up there. And then I started adding in my medium pieces. So you can see I'm trying to stick with the major color being white. So I'm adding in those elements first, and then going through and trying to fill in with my gold and my small pops of green. And now with the medium-sized items in place, I go through and start filling in with my smaller items. So for example, on the middle shelf, the lantern that's in there was kind of bare, so I went in and stuck in a small white lamp and a white orchid to balance out how much white I was using on each shelf. So on each shelf, I wanted a touch of white, a touch of the metallic element. You guys might recognize those three birds that I recently found on a Shop With Me video that I did with you. And I went back to HOMEGOODS and they were on clearance, so I grabbed them. This is totally random, but suddenly I find that I'm collecting ceramic Frenchies. Ever since we brought Theo home, I've noticed that the Frenchie is really a popular breed when it comes to decor, so don't be surprised if you see some Frenchie ornaments in this year's 12 Days of Christmas. And if I may talk about Christmas quickly, if you see any Frenchie ornaments you think I may like, please let me know on Instagram. I felt like the middle shelf was looking a little cold, so I added a strand of decor beads to just soften it up a bit, and I think it was perfect. Once the built-ins were done, I brought in all gold metallic pieces to style the mantle, and I kept it really light. I like to jam a bunch of things on the mantle during the fall season and definitely during Christmas. But in the summer, I like to keep it really light. So you guys saw me hack this driftwood in the middle. If you didn't, I'll link it below. That was a really fun project. I saw a piece of driftwood on the Gallerie's website, and I tried to recreate it myself and was really happy with it. And here's how it all turned out. White was my major color, or my primary color. Gold was my second or medium-sized color, and then the pops of green were my small color. I updated the aviary and styled it with the premium flicker candles from Pottery Barn. I think they're the most realistic ones on the market. And then on the center shelf, I created a couple of very simple vignettes using the majority white, and then I added in books. I always love using books and styling bookshelves and built-ins because it really makes it feel like home. And the three little birds found their new home on top of my storage case where I put in all my favorite Mother's Day cards and homemade artwork from the kids. And on the right-hand side of the built-ins, I added, starting on the bottom shelf, again, I love to style with books, but there's actually a special book in there. The one that you see on the wall is our wedding album, so it's easy access for the kids when they want to pull it down. And in the center, I used one large vignette. If you guys want to talk a little more about vignettes, please let me know in the comments below, and maybe I can put a video together for you. But I find it fun to try to use odd numbers, and it makes it look a little more balanced, if that makes sense. But let me know. Now everything is all set for the family room redesign, and in fact the furniture arrived while I was filming this video for all of you. So in the next video I will be giving you a full tour of our new family room. I'm very excited. Everything looks beautiful. If you learned at least one new thing today, please give this video a like and share it with your friends. And until next time, love and peace.